Hi everyone, welcome to our latest video, which is part 2 of our survey of World War II related structures on Lei Chau, an island just to the south of Aberdeen, Hong Kong. As explained in part 1, a defense scheme for Hong Kong was written and implemented in the run-up to the Second World War. Having explored Lei Chau's probable pillbox locations and remaining shelter, it's now time for us to find the coastal battery and artillery searchlight. Built under the auspices of the Royal Engineers, these coastal searchlights were officially termed Defense Electric Lights, or DELs. The searchlights themselves were 90 centimeters in diameter, enclosed in a concrete structure with a distinctive curved front. Sliding steel shutters protected the light when not in use. The light was able to sweep an area and follow targets, operated remotely from the searchlight director station within the battery itself. The lights were supplied with power from a nearby engine room, located near the shelter. An operator would stay by the shelters in case of malfunction. As we go down the road towards the point, recall that in 1941, the cliffs on the left would have extended directly to the sea, with a bit of beach before hitting the water. The road was not built until the 1970s. On this map from 1970, the spot which is now near the Shell oil depot was marked as having ruins, so that's where we're going today. After hopping the fence, we find ourselves on a spit of flat land littered with construction debris, general rubbish, and large concrete blocks among the vegetation. As a general rule, there is no natural flat land in Hong Kong, so this is either an unexplored rarity or it was carved out by engineers. The blocks seem to be the correct color and texture found in other British wartime sites, but the shape and haphazard piling is a bit of a mystery. It certainly doesn't look like the searchlight shelter. Could it be the remains of the engine room? While this is the most probable location of the DEL, the most likely explanation is that these blocks are connected with the reclamation, roadworks, and construction of the Shell oil dock in the 1970s. I was annoyed enough by this that I bought a copy of an aerial photo taken by the Royal Air Force in 1949. The staff at the Hong Kong Lands Department were quite bemused when I picked it up because who would pay money for this kind of thing? Well, you wondered where all those donation payments went. Anyway, there was an outcropping where the road is today, and we can clearly see the outline of a building and the staircase leading from the battery to the sea. It's my guess that the engine room and searchlight were demolished and the outcropping used as foundation for the Shell dock. Let's go up the stairs. These are standard maintenance stairways commonly found in Hong Kong to check on slopeworks and drainage channels to prevent flooding. The left of the stairway seems to be natural, while the right is concreted over for protection. Just visible through the dense growth is a utility pole. Unlike the green telephone poles, which can still be found in remote areas, this design is so far unique to Lei Chau. If anyone has seen anything similar elsewhere, do let us know in the comments. As we approach the top of the staircase, we find another utility pole. Only the top is visible, jutting out, as the rest has been encased in concrete. The orange ribbons are left by other adventurers to warn of hazard, as the sides are quite sharp. For now, we will proceed along the drainage course. The side of the hill has been cut away and covered in concrete. At the end of the railed section, we have to scramble up nearly smooth concrete, using vegetation for support. I suppose we'll have to bring a rope next time. Near the top, we see yet another utility pole, but this one has toppled over. After scrambling over the pole, we find more steps leading up the hill. However, they are of a different make from the maintenance steps. Each individual step is lower, and they are broader, so we can comfortably walk up. The color of the concrete also matches that expected for use in British military structures, so we think they were built to allow the searchlight crew to go back and forth to the coastal battery. Oddly, the stairs continue in a straight line down to what had been the coast. If we follow them, we get quite close to the modern road before the staircase suddenly stops. If this is connected with the coastal battery, then we surmise that the steps originally led to the engine room and searchlight, but were demolished past this point when the slopeworks commenced. From the air, the sudden cutoff and the proximity to what had been the edge of the cliff is more clear. Following the stairs up the slope, they are quite visible against the greenery, but do keep in mind that when discovered, they were half buried and covered by vegetation. Most of it has very quickly grown back. As we go up the stairs, there are two flat parts. The first one here was originally the end of the visible stairway, until an expedition member noticed that it actually continued up to the beehives. It had just been buried under soil and sediment. The beehives sit on a concrete platform. While Chinese bees are known to be docile around humans, they will defend their hives if we get too close or act aggressively towards them. Occasionally, a larger insect, probably a wasp, will come close to the entrance of the hives. The bees keep their hives at the optimum temperature by fanning, which is also a defense against predators. As this abandoned apiary is located on a concrete platform, we're not sure where to look for the continuation of the stairs. Rather than risk the wrath of the bees, we're going to go around. There is a narrow path through the brambles that brings us to another approach up to the battery. It's likely that the steps continue up as well, but as they are most likely buried, we'll just have to keep an eye out for anything out of the ordinary. Bits of concrete like this would have come from the lower lip of the battery that served as its foundation. There are terraces with rock walls here of the kind normally found in abandoned villages and squatter settlements. Perhaps after the war, the battery was used as shelter and subsistence crops grown on outlying terraces. Through these brambles, we can see what looks like concrete steps leading up to another terrace. Following the terrace wall, we're keeping an eye out for any easily accessible entrance to the battery. If crews needed to go up and down to service the engine room, it's unlikely they would have had to clamber down a steep hillside. We can see the platform with the beehives, but if the terraces are post war constructions, it's not going to be easy to find the correct path. There appears to be a path heading towards the beehive platform, but as it approaches the wall, the way is blocked by a tree. It could be the way to the entrance, or it could just be a boar path. Let's climb back up. Following some of the hiking trails and an old irrigation pipe, we can just see the outer drainage channel of the rear of the lower battery. Getting past the brambles is not easy. We managed to push away most of the rattan, a palm tree whose stems and branches use spines to climb other trees to reach the sun. Even juvenile rattan has spines that will easily rip skin, so we have to be careful when we squeeze through. Once we do, we find ourselves standing in the main gun emplacement. Now, it's completely overgrown, so it's difficult to see the size and splendor of this intact battery. Let's try and get to the shelters. The growth is so thick we can't see the remaining fixtures of the gun emplacement on the ground, but the blast wall still stands strong. The passage past the blast wall to the shelters is strewn with fallen masonry and paupers' grave markers. Inside the first building, with the roof fallen in, we find the signature of the battery's constructors, F Company of the 22nd Royal Engineers, raised from local Hong Kong recruits on 24th November 1939. At the second shelter, much of the outer plaster has fallen away, and the plants are taking over. It is almost impassable. But fortunately, I have a pith helmet which renders the wearer immune from scents or the desire to turn back. The third shelter is mostly intact, with the roof still on and the inside clean, by ruin standards. Inside the intact shelter, most of the metal fixtures have all been ripped out. We can see the holes in the wall where cabinets, desks, and shelves would have been. The positioning of the holes makes us suspect that there was a telephone switchboard involved, perhaps with the battery observation post further up the hill. The holes by the door would probably have been for hooks to hang your helmet or an oil lamp. The air vent in the ceiling is how most of the debris has fallen in. But all in all, it's in remarkable condition. As we proceed northeast, it's so overgrown that it's very difficult to tell where the outer wall is, even though we're only a few meters away. Up there is a trench which leads to the upper battery, but again, we're not getting through there without an axe or incendiaries, which would not be safe in any way. We think this is the actual entrance to the lower battery, as there appears to be a wide path on the other side of the wall, with a half buried trench. Coming here in the wet season is quite different from the drier winter season. Here's what it looks like now compared to several months ago. Getting out of the lower battery is a bit of a challenge. There is a path here, next to yet another abandoned apiary, but thankfully this one doesn't seem to have any inhabitants. Ugh, we have to crawl at some points as the branches are really thick. We put the rope in some time ago to ease the ascent, as after the rain, the slope has become quite smooth and difficult to find footholds. Once we get to the top, there is another flat area in front of the upper battery wall that was turned into a garden by a local elderly resident. The trench and probable stairs to get to the lower battery must be near here, but it's completely blocked off. I mean, you wouldn't think that a coastal artillery battery lay just through the trees here, right? Inside the upper battery, the plinths for direction and range finding are still standing, and from the northwest, imagine that you could see the entire western approach to Aberdeen Harbour, and able to give directions to the gun crew just a few dozen meters down the slope. As the drainage channels were blocked with soil and dirt, much of the upper battery provided a foothold for vegetation to take over, and it's in worse condition than the lower battery. There are some other relics as well, such as some kind of Japanese engine from the 1970s and general rubbish and debris. Even further up the slope is what is most likely the battery observation post. From here, spotters would keep an eye on the channel. The roof caved in some time ago, and a local resident is using it to grow his plants. Behind the observation post, this wide bit of flat land now has a path leading to a sitting out area, as we call them in Hong Kong. But if you look around, you can see the World War II concrete wall hidden in the trees, perhaps to provide cover for soldiers defending against a landing invasion to take over the battery. The front of the observation post is not in very good shape, but imagine the roof extending all the way to this front wall, enough to provide shelter from the elements and enemy fire, if that's indeed what this is. Like most of the other ruins, the observation post is hidden under a thick canopy of trees, just next to well-traveled paths and the service road. Coming down on the service road from the battery, I noticed the remains of a concrete wall in the jungle. The platform here is also easily visible in the 1949 aerial photo. Just past this blocked drainage channel is a suspiciously flat-looking area. And that is the top of a concrete water tank. The concrete steps seem to be the right color and size as the ones leading up to the battery from the coastline, so it's a good guess that this was built by the Royal Engineers, maybe to provide water to Pillbox 11 or cooling water for the guns of the lower battery. Due to Hong Kong's population density, even out-of-the-way roads see enough foot traffic that there is a lot of discarded rubbish, like this light bulb. And what exploration trek would be complete without a finding of a random piece of footwear in the middle of a forest? If you enjoyed this video, please consider flicking the like and subscribe buttons. Special thanks to my supporters Tripperhead, Telcontar, and Fredfall. You give me the encouragement to get out there and get material to grow the channel. Bye!